Okay, what's up, YouTube? I'm back on the video. And in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about the laws of the land. Because if you think you're free, you're not free. We are all slaves. Okay? But before we go into this, I want to go into this Amber Geiger trial situation, right? Quite sure a lot of people have spoken upon this. I'll get my take on it. I'm gonna tell you what I think really happened. So when you go to the Wikipedia, right? Go to the Wikipedia, and I'm about to make two parts to this, I will. Right? So the man named Jane Botham, right? September 6, 2018. Off-duty police officer, Dallas Police Patrol Officer Amber Geiger fatally shot this dude, and she entered into the apartment believing he was her own and shot him, believing he was a burglar. Now, it says that on October 1st, 2019, Geiger was found guilty of murder. The next day, she received a sentence of 10 years in prison. Geiger's apartment was on the 3rd floor, directly below Jane Botham's apartment on the 4th. In an apartment building with mostly identical floor plans on each level. Geiger testified that she thought the apartment was her own, and that she found the door slightly ajar, and she testified that she thought Jane Botham was an intruder in the darkened living room of her apartment, when in fact he was killed in his own apartment. She claimed she feared Jane would kill her, and he was unarmed. Okay, first of all, there's a problem. How long has she been living in this building? Right? How long has she been living in this building? And I have read about this like a month or two ago when they had her name on here. And they said that, they switched shit up. When I read her account on here on Wikipedia, it said that she had a key. She had keys, and it said that her key was able to open up his door. How is that possible? I'm gonna tell you what I think really happened. I think she might have been having sex with this dude, low key, and she might have walked into the house and saw some other stuff going on, and shot him. This is my take on what I think happened. Because how the hell you on an elevator, and your apartment is on the 3rd floor, but you bypass a whole entire floor and go to the 4th floor, and then you just so happen to go to this man's house, and you see the door is open, and you go in there and you say, "Oh, his apartment looks like mine." Come on, man. Bullshit. Do you know that women and men decorate their houses differently? You mean tell me she don't know her own apartment, what she has in there from the time she moved in up until this present day? I'm quite sure she might have a certain scent in there. You know how women do? They got candles lit, perfume and shit all over the place or whatever. That's just my take. That's what I think happened. I think she might have been having sex with this dude low key. And she might have got jealous and shot him, killed him, and get off with 10 years. So she got to serve 10 years, and 10 years she'll be out. But they give Dr. Malachi Z. York, 135 years for rape, child molestation, racketeering, and conspiracy fraud. They set this dude up. This dude is innocent. He ain't raped no goddamn kids. Bullshit. This dude is not no rapist. Let this white devil get off with murder. Look at her. I mean, she's just conjuring up tears. You know what I'm saying? Get the fuck out of here, man. Anyway, so let's go into some of these laws to show you all we are not free. We are all slaves. And in my next video, we're going to break down Freddy Krueger and Lucy. And to show you that these white people are going into extinct. So, let's go into this. So you got in this book right here, The Black Bible Science, by Dr. Osei Kapoor. On page 1, the spiritual knowledge, he says, the black men and women have in their DNA the ability to understand the seen and the unseen. We have the capability to go outside of ourselves to a place where religion teaches you that you can only go if you are good here on earth, and this keeps us from being able to see our true purpose in this life that we are traveling upon. We are the extraterrestrials, and what do I mean by that? Now, keep this word extraterrestrial in mind, because if you go on my channel, you will see that I did a video called Negroes Are Extraterrestrials, and I broke that stuff down. He's saying the same stuff that I'm saying. He's confirming the same things that I'm saying, but it's just in a different format. I break this stuff down kindergarten style. Let's keep on going. He says, we are the extraterrestrials. What do I mean by that? Well, let's not get spooked out because watching television has programmed us into thinking that an alien or an extraterrestrial is some green monster floating around in a spaceship. No, it isn't. What is an extraterrestrial? Well, we should have to use etymology in order to break this down into its proper meaning. Extra means that you have something more than something or someone, and terrestrial is one who is the inhabitant of where they geographically live, and we are presently on Earth. Therefore, an extraterrestrial would be one who lives somewhere obtaining extra abilities or knowledge and wisdom that is superior than most people that are in that geographical area. So why are we the extraterrestrials here on Earth? It is because we have in us an element that white people are putting into pills, which you know is melanin, to keep them balanced with nature because they are not natural beings. They are a processed people by way of an elemental scientific experiment called genetic engineering. Black people have this special type of melanin that this is what gives us color or complexion. This melanin is produced in the pineal gland, which is also referred to as the third eye. Once the sun touches this substance, it responds back to us in a way that forces the sun to give us energy, and it keeps every cell in our body in a cosmic rhythm of 360 degrees of communication with other planets and things in nature. This is what makes us phototropic people, because we convert sunlight into energy. I talked about this before. White people are heterotropic people, meaning they cannot convert sunlight into energy due to the lack of the special type of melanin, and that's why they are more healthier in dark, damp areas. And this is also why they have to put on sunblock to block out the radiance of the information that only those with souls can retain or absorb. We are all spiritual beings with elements that are pre-encoded within our DNA. But we live on Earth, a third-dimensional realm, which is ran by soulless beings. These soulless beings are known as the Caucasians or the white race. These people are a hybrid species. So these white folks don't got no damn souls. They have no history, nor have any of them experienced a crossing over into the fifth dimension. What is that? Well, the horizon of their thinking is incomprehensible beyond who they are. Number one, anything void of a soul is not natural, nor can it go anywhere and exist with that which is natural unless it is on a third dimension, because the third dimension is an illusional place where you can act and look natural, but not necessarily be natural, and the fifth dimension has no illusions. It is the creator of all things with soul, and only that with soul can attain to its jurisdiction where it resides. Now, in my next lesson, we're going to talk about the fifth dimension. We're going to break down Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Lucy. Now, let's go into some of these laws. Okay? Okay. Okay. So you got here, it says the United States bankruptcy and your birth certificate. Franklin D. Roosevelt said in 1933, he says, the real truth of the matter is, as you and I know, that a financial element in the large centers has owned the government of the U.S. since the days of Andrew Jackson. All right, and he said this quote. Now it says, this is chapter 1, the United States is a private corporation. Did you know that the United States is not a country? It is a private corporation that was set up as a surety holding insurance company to collect taxes from its citizens to pay off a national debt of 1933, in which bankruptcy, which was filed by President Roosevelt in 1933, and through the birth certificate, citizens became the surety of war collateral for the U.S. debt. We'll get to the IRS and taxes later. But for now, he says, I'm going to show you how these private corporations such as the Treasury Department, the New York Stock Exchange, all hospitals, and the vital statistics are all connected. But first, I will give you below the bankruptcy of the Initiation Act by Congress to sell American citizens to private bankers by way of the birth certificate. This is Speaker Representative James Traficant Jr. of Ohio addressing the House of Representatives on behalf of the United States, March 9, 1933. It reads, Speaker Representative James Traficant Jr. Ohio addressing the House. He says, quote, Mr. Speaker, we are here now in Chapter 11. Members of Congress are official trustees presiding over the greatest reorganization of any bankrupt entity in world history, the U.S. government. We are setting forth, hopefully, a blueprint for our future. There are some who say it is a coroner's report that will lead to our demise. It is an established fact that the United States federal government has been dissolved by the Emergency Banking Act, March 9, 1933. 41, Stat 1, Public Law 87-719 declared by President Roosevelt being bankrupt and insolvent. Okay, now let's go over here to we're going to go over here to taxes, right? So the United States is a private corporation. Now let's go over to the taxes. It says that now let's connect all of this to taxes. In Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution, it clearly states that only Congress has the power to lay and collect taxes for the sole purpose of paying off the United States national debt. This alone kills two birds with one stone. Number one, the Constitution admits that your taxes help to pay off their national debt. Number two, if only Congress is given power to collect taxes, why is the IRS collecting your taxes and the IRS is not even a part of the government? That's right. It is a private corporation incorporated in Delaware on July 12, 1933 as for profit by three Nazis by the name of Clifton Barton, Ellen Barton, and Lawrence Echeverria. Is it a coincidence that all of this is happening in 1933? The United States files a bankruptcy. The IRS is set up, and then here goes the birth certificate. which contracts these citizens force them to pay taxes at a later date due to your parents signing you over to the state by the way of the birth certificate. So we paying taxes for no reason. It says all the taxes that you pay does not go to the United States Treasury because it does not exist. The Treasury Department of the IRS is the treasury of the popes of Rome under the Treaty of Rome, and not one penny goes to schools, Social Security, etc. Your taxes are divided amongst the Queen of England and the popes of Rome. It goes on to say here that, one second. It goes on to say here that income taxes are for federal employees to pay. A federal citizen is one who works for the United States of America. The United States of America is a corporation of one, and if one is a citizen of it, they are a corporate person citizens and must pay taxes, not the natural person for which all federal employees and public servants work for the purpose of upholding and preserving the unalienable rights of the natural person. They are trustees with a derived authority, Constitution. The articles within the Constitution describe their duties and obligations as trustees. The Constitution is the law of the land, and if natural people do not want to be molested, they must enforce the Constitution and be sure it is not violated against them. This is already established. This is the already established law, and there is no other law in this land. There exists, quote, color of law, which is negative law, as opposed to positive law. You see that? Considering that senior officials at the Internal Revenue Service are fully aware of the fact that there is no law currently in existence making a U.S. citizen liable for or required to pay either the income tax or the Social Security employment tax, only a truly genuine citizen would, upon discovering this, continue to voluntarily donate these taxes to the government by allowing them to be withheld from its paycheck on 100% voluntary W-4 withholding agreement. But then again, the IRS would be dead in the water without the voluntary and docile compliance of employers and employees, and has said all along. William Cash, our IRS senior manager. Now, so they're saying we paying taxes. We're paying their taxes. Our tax money is going to them, to a private corporation. Let's keep on going. And all this was set up in 1933, under President Roosevelt. So let's go into the birth certificate. Your birth certificate is a contract. From the time that you are born in the United States, you are issued a birth certificate which identifies you as state property. So somebody owns you. You're not free. Somebody owns you. Which gives jurisdiction to America over you as a person. On your birth certificate, there are red numbers, and those numbers are set up in the United States Treasury as your stock number, which is then sent to the New York Stock Exchange to have you recorded as stock. This certificate is then sold to the international bankers as collateral for the debt of the United States. Each one of us, including our children, are considered assets of the bankrupt United States, which acts as the debtor in possession. When a child is born, the hospital generally sends the original, not a copy of its record of live birth to the state Bureau of Vital Statistics, sometimes called the Department of Health Rehabilitative Services. Each state is required to supply the corporate United States with birth, death, and health statistics. The state agency that received the original record of live birth keeps it and then issues another birth certificate in a different form where the name of the baby is spelled in all capital letters. You see that? This creates a, quote, legal person as opposed to a natural individual. The birth certificate issued by the state is then registered with the U.S. Department of Commerce, the executive office, specifically through vital statistics from all the states. Thus, the birth certificate is registered in international commerce. The word registered, as it is used in commercial law, does not mean that the all-capital version of the name was quote merely noted or recorded in a book for future references purposes. When a birth certificate is registered with the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Treasury will issue a bond on the value of the birth certificate. The bond is then made available for purchase on a securities exchange and is bought by the Federal Reserve Bank. This purchase then becomes the authority or collateral to issue Federal Reserve notes, which we use as a medium of exchange. The value of the bond in today's world is $630,000. The bond is then held in trust for the Federal Reserve at the Depository Trust Corporation at 55 Water Street in New York City, about 2 blocks down from the Federal Reserve. It is a high-rise office building, and the sign in front reads, quote, the Tower of Power. We are all designated by this government as human resources or human capital. You may have noticed that all personnel offices have been converted to human resource offices. You see that? Then they have something that's called a strawman, the strawman name, right? Okay. Now, let's do this. Let's keep on going. So it says that the government assumes the role of the trustee while the newborn child becomes the beneficiary of his own trust. Everything the child will ever own is vested in the government. The government then places the trust into the hands of the parents, who are made the guardians. The child may reside in the hands of the guardians until such time as the state claims that the parents are no longer capable to serve, in which they hire another private corporation called the Department of Social Security, or DSS, to kidnap your child when they deem you are unfit as a parent. But little do we know that in international courts you can bring kidnapping charges against these corporations. The state then goes into the home and removes the trust from the guardians. The trust is the child. Because when you sign that birth certificate, your child becomes a trust to help pay off their national debt. See these crooked ass motherfuckers? Notice that the name on the birth certificate is in all capital letters. This is a strawman name. It is not a real person. This is not the name on that birth certificate. This is not your name on that birth certificate. Because only corporations and businesses are in all capital letters. So, for example, if the court sends you a summons and your name is in all capital letters on that summons, and you agree that it is you, then you have given that court authority and jurisdiction over you to educate you or prosecute you illegally. Anything that is in all capital letters is not real. Say, for example, if you set up a checking account with Bank of America and you go into debt with Bank of America, and creditors or the bill collectors start calling you and harassing you, remember that you did not sign a contract with the creditors. Therefore, you say to them to send the contract stating you owe them and to present you the original copy of the contract. with them and demand their original disclosure documents. Because you did not contract with them, you contracted with Bank of America. The creditors then send you a letter with your name in all capital letters saying that you owe them. Remember that a name in all caps is not real. It is a corporation, and you are not a corporation. Just return that letter to them as a return to sender because the name in all capital letters is not you. You see that? When a child is born within a corporation, within the corporate United States, a record of live birth form, a commercial bill of landing, or similar is issued by the hospital. The father and mother sign this hospital form, a receipt for goods, as the parent, manufacturer, and title holders, owners of the goods to the child. This is a business that they're doing. This is a business transaction. The transfer of the property rights, the child's rights, to the state is accepted by the signature of the government agent, a state licensed physician. The parent have unknowingly pledged their child's future and labors to the government and signed a presumed contract. This converts the legal status of their child to that of chattel property and permanently indentured servitude. See that? Now, let's go over here. Let's go over here to right here. So now he says, how to defend yourself in court. He says, in this chapter, I will show you how to defend yourself in the courts of the United States, which are also private corporations set up to educate you under color or law or colorable law. First, you have to understand that there are no such thing as judicial courts anymore because of the bankruptcy that was filed by President Roosevelt. There are only administrative courts acting as judicial courts. The Supreme Court ruled that there are no judicial courts in America, and there has not been since 1789. Judges do not enforce statutes and codes. Executive administrators enforce statutes and codes. Right here, the code numbers. The Supreme Court is the only court that can rule and have constitutional and original authority over a free man or a sovereign person. What does that mean? Well, anytime that you call yourself a citizen of the United States, you give jurisdiction and authority over to the courts to prosecute you because you are using their birth certificate to be under their powers. Now, this is stuff that I didn't know. You learn something new every day. It says, a sovereign is someone who has a nationality as a Moor or a sovereignty with another nation who has credibility in international law and also has delegation of authority to carry out law. If you have been pulled over by a police officer, you must ask him to identify himself. Ask him for his oath of office and delegation of authority from Congress, because delegation of authority is where authority derives. If he insists on writing you a ticket, you can file an affidavit of fact demanding their oath of office and delegation of authority. And on that same affidavit to the court, where you are summoned to challenge jurisdiction of the court, because the Supreme Court ruled that, quote, once jurisdiction is challenged, the court cannot proceed when it clearly appears that the court lacks jurisdiction. The court has no authority to reach merits, but rather should dismiss the action. Milo versus U.S. 505. In every case, there is a plaintiff and there is a defendant. Usually, when you are taken to court on behalf of a ticket or other cases, you are the defendant. Let's keep on going. You are the defendant. See, on my channel, I just don't talk about the same old shit. We talking about real life issues. Okay? Let's keep on going. Okay. Now, if I have to make a part 2 to this, I will. Okay? But let's keep on going. It says that, okay, so, usually when you are taking the court on behalf of a particular other case, you are the defendant. For example, the state of New York versus John Doe. The question you must bring before the court is, quote, who is the state of New York, and can the state of New York appear in person? Because under the Sixth Amendment, you have the right to face your accuser. Of course, the state of New York does not exist, but the judge would likely say that the prosecutor is representing the state of New York. You then turn to the prosecutor and say, quote, for the record, can you state your name? After he or she states their name, then you ask the prosecutor to present identification or a birth certificate with his or her name as the state of New York. They will not be able to present it. You then say to the prosecutor, quote, have I committed any crimes against you? They will say no. You then turn to the judge and say, quote, for the record, I would like to demand that this case be dismissed. And if not, I will be filing a lawsuit against you and the court for fraudulent charges in federal court. You must remember that in order for a crime to be committed, there must be an injured party, and the state of New York cannot be injured because it is not a person. It does not exist as a person. Did you know that there is no such thing as constitutional rights? The Constitution does not give you any rights. Your rights are given to you by God, your birthright, your inheritance, sovereign, and cannot be restricted or taken from you. Chapter 4. Right to travel without a driver's license. It says that what is a driver's license, and do you really need one to be able to operate an automobile? The answer is no. The only people who need a driver's license are those who do business out of their vehicle. For an example, a taxi cab driver or a pizza delivery driver need a license because they operate under commerce. Whenever you are driving and doing business, you are operating under commerce. Therefore, whatever you are driving is a commercial vehicle. But if you are traveling from home to work or to visit family, then you are not obligated to have a driver's license because you are not doing business out of your automobile. The driver's license can be only required of people who use the highways for trade, commerce, or hire. That is, if they earn their living on the road and they use extraordinary machines on the roads. Extraordinary machines on the roads. In other words, if you are not using the highways for profit, you cannot be required to have a driving license. The Supreme Court ruled in Thomas versus Smith case, quote, the right of the citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon, either by carriage or by automobile, is not a mere privilege which a city may prohibit or permit at will, but a common law right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Thompson versus Smith. There are other cases. Just research the right to travel. So you are not even required to have a driver's license to drive. Let's keep on going. They say that identification cards and driver's license identifies who you are. But if these things have an expiration date, then it also says that you expire. The question that you should ask now to yourself is, do you expire? There was a man by the name of Charlie Sprinkle who brought a lawsuit against Ronald Reagan and his wife and other government officials due to his arrest for not having a driver's license. Charlie sued Ronald Reagan, Nancy Reagan, and numerous other government officials over the driver's license, using the foundation that in practice it was a title of nobility. Issuing titles of nobility is prohibited by the Constitution and violates the obligation of the subscribed oath of office. Ronald Reagan then begged Charlie to drop the lawsuit on the condition that he would make sure that no officer or agent would harass him again. This is because they knew that no citizen needed a driver's license unless they were operating under commerce using their vehicle as a commercial vehicle. Only people who are using their vehicles as a business need a license, as all other businesses need a license. You see that? So if you are not a taxi cab driver or a bus driver, if you're not a taxi cab driver or a bus driver, you do not need a driver license. Chapter 5. Bar associations does not qualify you to practice law in court. Lawyers and attorneys are not licensed to practice law. All lawyers and judges have membership under the American Bar Association, which is a conflict of interest when it comes to being qualified in law. If a judge or a lawyer ever say to you that you have to be licensed and to go to school and pass the bar to be able to practice law, you just tell them that the Supreme Court ruled that, quote, the practice of law cannot be licensed by any state. Case, board versus examiners, you know what I'm saying? These are the court numbers, the case numbers. It says that the American Bar is an offshoot from London Lawyers Guild. It was established by people with evasive monopolistic goals in mind. They had money in mind. In 1909, they incorporated this traitorous group in the state of Illinois and had the state legislation, which was under the control of lawyers, pass an unconstitutional law that only members of this powerful union of lawyers, called the ABA, could practice law and hold all the key positions in law enforcement and making the laws. At that time, Illinois became an outlaw state for all practical purposes. They seceded from the United States of America. The Bar Association then sent organizers to all the other states and explained to the lawyers there how much more profitable and secure it would be for them as lawyers to join this union and be protected by its bylaws and canons. They issued to the lawyers in each state a charter from the Illinois organization, California. From the organization. It says California joined in 1927 and a few reluctant states, and their lawyers waited until the 1930s to join, with the Treasonous Act becoming de facto, and the citizens became captives. Under this system, the lawyers could guarantee prejudged decisions for the privileged class against the lower class. Now, let's go to one more thing. Okay? And you got the Federal Reserve Act, churches, government-controlled churches, like it says. He says, I once asked a scholar in college, did Jesus need a 501c to be able to preach the word of God? The question stopped there because it was one that could not be answered. Well, did he? No, Jesus was a free man. And he did not compromise with the government of his time for grants and other things that the government is offering churches today. Now, the infamous 5013C section of the Internal Revenue Code, IRC, goes back to 1936. But then Senator Lyndon Johnson, who was a Dr. Frankenstein, who in 1954 unleashed this monster IRS upon America. His motivation was that he did not like the way pastors and churches were operating, were opposing his liberal agenda, and he wanted to use the power of law to silence them. He therefore introduced verbiage to the IRC that churches were prohibited from influencing political legislation and supporting political campaigns or risk losing their tax-exempt status. You see that? Now, let's go here to, you got the Social Security card. So what does Social Security card mean? Social Security card is a stock, is a stock corporation. A security is a stock corporation. Stock is publicly traded security regulated by the SEC. So when you get a Social Security number, you are activating or creating a public stock security of the corporation known as the United States. Stock created for you to use, which adds to their collateral. By getting a Social Security number, you declare yourself to be public stock of the United States government. You are a social or public security with a security number. You do not get Social Security insurance. If you will look at the latest issued Social Security cards, you will see a red number on the back, just like the red registered security numbers on the back of the stock certificate or birth certificate. What's the difference? None. They are both public securities. You see that? Now let's go here. So it says that the IRS is not a part of the United States government. The IRS is not an agency of the United States government. It is true that not only can it not be found in Title 33, but it is nowhere to be found in the entirety of Title 5 USC. Congress thought it created it, but it didn't. Just look at the 1100 manual and it tells you so. Congress only created the Commissioner's Office. He then hired the private collection agency people and used them as tax collectors. In fact, I defy you to find any IRS employee listed as an employee of the United States government with the United States employee identification number that has been hired by any district director in the country. He says, now I suggest you to look at 27 Code of Federal Regulations, Section 250.11, and therein you will find the definition of revenue agent. That definition reads, any duly authorized Commonwealth Internal Revenue Agent of the Department of the Treaty of Puerto Rico. I now refer you to the security described in 26 USC 6301. It says, does it not state the security shall collect taxes imposed by the Internal Revenue laws? Yes, it does. Now, Congress mandated this by 68A Status 775, and you cannot disagree. Does not 26 USC state that this security may make a return based on information he has if a person does not make a return? Yes, it does. Does not 26 USC 6001 and things of that nature refer to this security? Yes, it does. So it says that, listen to this. Now, if the revenue agent decides to prosecute, he approaches the Attorney General and this security, as noted in the 26 USC 7401, to prosecute upon concurrence between both the Attorney General and this Secretary. Is this not correct? Yes, it is. And all the above is undisputable. It is now contrary to any rational man that this, quote, security can only be one person, not many. Now, I direct your attention to 27 CFR 25011 again for the definition of security, as found in all the above. The defining term for security is the Secretary of the Treasury of Puerto Rico. That man is Manuel Diaz Saldana. Those revenue agents operating in all the states those revenue agents operating in all the states are not United States employees. The statute mandated to be at the end of each regulation by Code 1 of Federal Regulations. You see that? So this stuff is being, this IRS U.S. Department, this IRS not a part of the United States government, where is this stuff being, where all this stuff taking place? Goddamn Puerto Rico. You Negroes don't know your laws. Okay? It says, one of the most outspoken critics in Congress of the Fed was the chairman of the House Banking and Currency Committee during the Great Depression years, Louis T. McFadden. He said in 1932, quote, "We have in this country one of the most corrupt institutions the world has ever known. I refer to the Federal Reserve Board. This evil institution has impoverished the people of the United States and has practically bankrupted our government. It has done this through the corrupt practice of money vultures who control it." You see that? Now, one second. You have another quote. Woodrow Wilson wrote, "All this trouble could be averted if we appointed a committee of 6 or 7 public-spirited men like J.P. Morgan to handle our affairs of country." You know who J.P. Morgan is with the banks and things like that, right? So, this is just a quick video on the laws. You are not required to have a driver's license. You're not required to take the bar to be a lawyer or attorney. They just get money out your ass. And then let's go back here one more time to we showed here that with the incident with Amber Geiger, you know what I'm saying? And she murdered that man, right? And then when you go here in this book right here, the Bible of Black Science, when you go here, let's do this. Because this is going to be a part of my next video. I want to give you a little snippet of it. And we break down Freddy Krueger and Lucy. Right? So it says here that soul, what is spirit? Energy. Okay? Now, we're gonna go into this. I gotta break it down for you. Right? Now, so like here, the vampire is recessive and their melanin as their blood. So it says here that melanin is a universe in a microsome, but it's in your body. Stop and think about that. As above, so below. It is a microsome. It is a microsome into outer space, and when you look into a black hole, you are looking at a biological living light. Out of darkness comes light. It's in your so-called holy books. Melanin is black gold. This is why when you die, black people, they take out your organs, grind them down, and dry them out to extract melanin from your organs, which in turn they make up melatonin pills. You see that? Out of your melanin, it says they dry your organ out and they make these melatonin pills, and it says that they make these melatonin pills to help them sleep. Okay? Now, right here, it says, have you ever wondered why these actors such as Angelina Jolie and other clone celebrities take interest in adopting children from African countries? They are raising these children to crossbreed them with their own, and also to extract their organs as business purposes. That's why when you get an identification card with the DMV, they persuade you to become organ donors after you pass away from this realm. It is because your melanin is black gold and it's worth millions of dollars, and they take this from your organs. Funeral home businesses has made billions upon trillions from selling body parts. Now, like here, so like there was a case with a guy named Kendrick Johnson and Trayvon Martin. So they took these kids. So you got Kendrick Johnson. Let me see how much time I got. This is the spiritual warfare. But you Negroes don't know who the hell you are. You're not male. You're not female. There's no way to describe you. What gender does energy have? It doesn't have one. What gender does light have? It doesn't have one. What gender does water have? It doesn't have one. What gender does fire have? It doesn't have one. What gender does air have? It doesn't have one. It just exists. It's the I am. And you are made up of those elements. And those elements come out to carbon. I don't know when you Negroes going to wake up. Going to continue to stay asleep. Now, let's do this. Let my computer load up. So we want to look up Kendrick Johnson, right? Let my computer load up. I had never heard of this brother. He was 17 years old. Kendrick Johnson, a 17-year-old black boy brother in Georgia, was found in a gym with his organs pulled out, and he was stuffed with newspaper. Not only that, but Trayvon Martin was also comprised suspiciously of his organs. And the same undertaker that tended to Trayvon Martin's body was the same undertaker who tended to Kendrick Johnson's body. What a coincidence. But our people are so caught up on racism when in actuality the war is bigger than that. This is more than bombs and missiles, man. This is a spiritual warfare. This is a matrix that we are living in, and all of this is an illusion. And when you try to become liberated in a world that is an illusion, you become part of the illusion. When you look up at the sun, you are not really seeing its true being. You're only seeing the shadow, which is the physical part of it. The sun is 93 million miles away from the earth. And if you get within a million miles, 93,000 miles away, and if you get within a million miles within the sun, the natural characteristics of that sun will be black. Why is that so? Because the sun is made up of more than 50% melanin, and this is the soul of the sun that sends or transcends the information through light, which is the shadow or the illusion. But the melanin, what is it? It is something that helps you to receive or reflect that knowledge from other dimensions. Reference from Dr. Richard King, a key to freedom, page 69 says, there are many forms of light that reach the surface of our planet, such as moonlight and many different forms of starlight, galactic center black holes, neutron stars, and red giant impulses. It says there is also an eternal internal sun that supports all dimensions of all universes. Now, like I said, in my next video, we're going to talk about, we're going to expose the movie Lucy. We're going to expose the movie Nightmare on Elm Street. Okay, we're going to go into it. So, you got the man, you got the guy, Kendrick Johnson. Kendrick Johnson's death, right? This is the kid right here, Kendrick Johnson. I never heard of this kid. Something. Okay, what the hell is this? What is this? Kendrick Johnson, family ordered to pay attorney fees. Okay, what they do to this boy? Okay, I never heard of this before. Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna come right back and make another lesson. Peace.